and then I will take questions at the end. Yeah, great. Can I just have a show of hand? How many of you are actually running a business, or business owners, or in charge of running operations of businesses?
Yes, you all can use the reaction button over there to show your hands. Yeah, can we have everyone switch on your cameras, please, so we know that you all are alive and, you know, this 30 minutes we can have a good interaction. Yes, I think it'll be good. Yeah. Can we show a show of hands? How many in business? Yes, that's right. That's right. Okay.
Yep. Okay, cool.
Good. Yeah.
Okay, cool, cool. I'm going to share my screen now. Can you all see? And
yes.
You can hear me well, right? Right?
Can, yes. Can.
Okay, should you pivot or should you persevere? And I think the question that a lot of people are asking and questioning, where is the opportunity? Should I stay or should I do something else? And this question is important because we constantly ask ourselves whether this is a career move or a business move that we want to make. And in fact, this question is also applicable for your life. And I think it's very profound because you are the same person at work or at home. And for as long as you have not anchored your belief, probably you would not be able to decide or make a good, solid decision moving forward. Yeah. So let's start. What is the definition of pivot? What is pivot all about? So pivot, just quickly, the synonym to pivot is turn, rotate, revolve, spin, swivel, or move to another direction. But effectively, that's the verb. The noun is actually a point. So this is a pivot point. So when you have a pivot point, you can turn around, yeah? So you can move here and move here and move here. So that's the action, the verb, but the pivot is the point. So it normally means that you have a single point that you want to move around. So it's okay to pivot, and it's equally also okay to persevere. We just need to know that our reasons for doing it are the right ones. So if we're looking for answers, there's a lot of help. Here are some resources that you can look at. And what I have done is I've picked up some of the points from each of these resources, from some of these books, and put it into one concise document for us to go through this afternoon. Yeah. So the question on the table is, should you pivot? And more importantly, because of the current situation, should you pivot because of COVID? Right? That's that main question, and that's an overlapping, a compound element on top of it, which is COVID. Or should you just persevere? Yeah. And I think right now, the question, should you pivot, is the core question. And you want to know when you should pivot. There are three main reasons, or there are three main things that you should think about. When it's damaging your health and your relationship, then you should pivot. Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of time when you are doing something and you zone and you keep doing simply because you want to prove something. You become, and then you cannot see the big, and that is getting a bit dangerous. Yeah, but you are not putting things in perspective, and you need to ask one fundamental question. Yeah, how does the idea sit in your life? How does this career work? How does this business sit in your life right now? You are in a situation. Are you a slave to the situation, or are you in control of the situation? Because if it's damaging, if it's starting to eat into your health and your relationship, you might want to think about it. Yeah. Secondly, if you are feeling trapped, you're not finding joy in what you do, yeah? And this is completely the opposite of the one feeling just now. Just now, you basically tune off your emotion. You're in a mechanical mode. You just do without having to pay any attention to your feelings, to your own feelings, or to people around you. But this one is when you feel that you're not getting what you want in your life, or you're not happy, you feel trapped. And we get into this kind of feeling, and we use one very common excuse, very easy excuse. It's my responsibility, and if I don't do it, who's going to feed my children or my family? And we get into that trap, yeah. So something that I think we can take stock of the situation and see where are we heading, what are we doing with our life. And the third thing is a situation where you are more comfortable with the known level rather than the unknown. You're too afraid to move, too afraid to let go, because it's comfortable. What else could you be doing if not this, right? So this is the three main reasons for when you definitely should pivot your life, your career, or your business. But there are other questions now with the current situation when it comes to coronavirus or COVID. Yeah, we want to ask ourselves: do we pivot because of COVID? Yeah, and you definitely want to take that route, that action, if, for example, the sales channel that you are in is now affected. You cannot sell your product anymore. You cannot services. It's you basically come to a point that you have no more income, no more revenue. But then you need to think about whether it's a short term or a long term situation. The fact that your sales channel is affected, is it a temporary situation or a long term situation? Because if it's a long term, yes, you pivot. But if it's a short term, then you want to ride on the wave. You want to still stick in what you're doing, but find a different sales channel instead of changing the product or changing the business altogether. Get it? Yeah. And the next one during this COVID is when you observe that the consumers or the shoppers, their behavior and their perspective and their mindset and their attitude, everything have changed. When they have changed, then you basically are in a position of no choice, right? You have no choice, but you have to move on and find a way of how you can make a living. So you either change your product or you change your consumer, right? Oh, sorry, I move a bit too fast. So you change your product. You can only, one thing have to remain constant. The other one can be a moving variable. So the one that's remaining constant is you have to decide, okay, to keep to your product and look for new consumer that have a need for your product, or you change your product but you keep the consumer the same, because you already have a pool of database. You already have a pool that's loyal to you. Yeah. And the last one for COVID is that no, not the last one. The second last one is when you feel that you're playing catch up. It's not very difficult to see that a lot of people have moved on. A lot of people have pivoted, especially people who are in the same industry, in the same category. They found new ways, new means of changing the way they sell their products or their services. Then you have no choice, but you really need to pivot yourself. change. And when you're pivoting, don't need to change everything. You need to just change a little bit offering to address the same target consumer or different target consumer. Yeah, you want to open up your bucket. And it's not very nice, but this happens when your product or your service becomes irrelevant in the new normal. And the current situation pretty much can tell us where we're heading. I have got one student entrepreneur. His business is in food tour. So what he does is he takes on registration for tourists who comes to Malaysia, and he takes them around Petaling Street, around Jalan Tunku Rahman to sample the local delicacies. And as a result of COVID, we can see that at least in the next 2 years, travel is going to be something that people are going to be very, very apprehensive about. So he has no choice. His offering suddenly is irrelevant. Even the airlines company are suffering, what more a small food tour company like his. So brainstorming with me, we managed to find a way to pivot his business, and he started doing an online cooking classes, cooking tutorials, teaching local Malaysian cuisines to overseas, to international people who wants to learn how to cook Malay, Chinese, and Malaysian Indian cuisine. So they get to experience, and that's how he pivot very, very quickly. Yeah. So those are the reasons, and those are the things that you need to consider when you are going through all these questions in your mind. Their chances are, I'm observing, yeah, life is already tough. The situation is already bad before COVID. Most businesses are already struggling. So you want to ask yourself the three questions earlier, whether you should pivot or not, whether you are getting jaded, whether you are getting feeling trapped, or whether you are actually doing things mechanically without really having any feel or any soul to what you're doing. And that is the first filter to guide you whether you should pivot or not. And the second filter is COVID is going to chart the new normal for us. So when we have post-COVID, we can basically tell what are the changes, what are the different new normal that's going to happen. And with that, we can ask this additional 4 questions as to whether we want to make or take our life into a different direction. Yeah. What about whether I should persevere? And this is a very introspective question. You persevere when it's not about the product, it's not about the consumer, it's not about the offering, it's not about the market, but you persevere when you are facing a challenge in believing in yourself. Because you tend to self-sabotage, or you tend to think small of yourself. You listen for and against, and you find that a lot of things that is going against what you want to do is actually internal, when the problem is actually inside you or inside your head. Yeah. So this is a mindset, a self-limiting beliefs. I'm not good enough in this, or it's too difficult, or no one will buy from me. I don't know how to sell. And when you have, and it's not about pivoting, it's about anchoring yourself and making sure that you do not get engaged in activities or thoughts that is self-sabotaging yourself. Yeah. And you persevere when from one idea. First, you want finished it and you start doing another one and you start doing another one. This is a case where people are hyperactive in their mind and they have too many good ideas that uh, they're not patient and they're not seeing things through. Yeah. And if you are like this, chances are you are suffering from a childlike syndrome, you know, a 3-year-old who cannot sit still like a toddler. You have to jump from one spot to another spot. This is what our mind is doing to us. We're saying, hey, but that idea is good. Hey, but hang on. That idea, I saw something people do. I think I can do something like that. I tweak this and can. So it's about not having the discipline, not having the ownership, and anchoring yourself to an idea. And when this happen, my advice to my student entrepreneurs usually are find yourself a coach or find yourself a mentor who can ground you, challenge you, help you to firm up those ideas, to see things through. Yeah. I'm just taking a look at the chat if there's any question. Yeah. Okay. So next is you persevere when, and we somehow we all do this. We expect things to come easy. We expect that um, when we do something, we will get the results almost immediately. Yes, it does happen. And when it happens, we should be delighted, but it shouldn't be an expectation. We should want to make sure things fall into place and we get the fruit of our labor. But to expect things comes easy is almost like sitting down and doing nothing, not putting any effort, and things will come to you. So when you expect things to come easy, chances are you are not going to stay loyal to what you're doing right now. You're always going to be on lookout for the easier thing rather than the more meaningful thing or the more substantial thing that's right for you to do. Yeah. And you should persevere when all you need is actually just funding. There's nothing wrong with your product. There's nothing wrong with your consumer. There's nothing wrong with the market. Or there's something wrong with the market. There's a challenge right now, but you of course can be creative or be strategic in your marketing. And but actually what you need really is just funding because you're already heavy laden in debt. So getting into or pivoting your business or your life decisions to something else is just going to make you dig another hole because you haven't resolved the current situation, you haven't resolved the current issue. You're opening up because when you're pivoting, trust me, you are going to need resources, you are going to need funds, you are going to need support, you're going to need help to make this new idea work. So look at the situation, weigh carefully whether I'm going after a bigger pot or I'm just trying to cover the old one and open up a new one. Yeah. So if the problem, what is the problem? If the problem is really my debt, opening a new or pivoting a new business is not going to help me solve the current problem, right? So think strategically is something that you need to do. And most of the time you need to extract yourself out of the situation, extract yourself from the bubble and see from outside perspective where you are and where do you sit in the grand scheme of things. Yeah. And when you have decided that you want to pivot, most of us sit down, we start thinking and thinking and thinking and mulling over. We don't really necessarily have a business plan or a marketing plan, but the thought is just in your head, and you're waiting for it to be perfect before you think it can start. My advice is start, even though it's imperfect. If it's the right, if you believe it's the right thing to do, then just start. And when or if you are going to jump into entrepreneurial business, or if you feel or you're going to jump into doing something, a business, always remember the 3F rule. And this is something I always leave with my fellow entrepreneurs. The 3F stands for fast, fluid, and flexible. Let me explain. Fast means you do not sit down and wait. You just do it. This is when you borrow from Nike and you just do it. You need to be fast in terms of your action. You need to be fast in terms of a response to the market. Yeah. Um, uh, the advantage of being small is that you can move faster. It's like having a small car. When you have a small car, you can fit into the small parking lot, right? And that's the advantage. When you have a big car, you cannot park in, you have to make sure you have ample space. So you are small. We are a small company, we are small entrepreneurs. When we're small, the decision making lies with us. If you work in a large organization, I tell you, I was with Nestle before. It took me 5 years to convince the management to launch a Tongkat Ali coffee. And by the time I have gotten approval from the head office, HQ in Switzerland, guess what? Ali Cafe had already launched Tongkat Ali coffee, and they had already covered all the market. So that's the disadvantage of being a large company. And we need to take advantage of us being small. It means we can move quickly, we can make decisions, and we can respond to the market. That's about being fast. Now, being fluid means you act according to situation. Think of yourself as water. A water or a liquid will take on the shape of its vessel. So when you see you pour water into a bottle, it takes the shape of a bottle. You pour water into a bowl, it takes the shape of a bowl. So similarly, your business, your product, your services should be fluid. It should be catering to the various different target segments out there. It's harder for big companies to do that because they have a lot more nuts and bolts to tweak, to fix before they can do that. But for small businesses like us, we can do that. We can tailor make our offerings or our services, our approach to the to suit the relevant stakeholders or the relevant target audience, the relevant target consumers. Be fluid. Okay, the next one is to be flexible. Flexible means you need to have a plan. A lot of businesses or small businesses do not have a plan. They just like, their business plan is, this is the most famous business plan. Dear God, please open up my rezeki and give me, make people see or buy my product. That's not a business plan. Having a business plan is having a definitive way of how you're going to approach the market. But the fact that we're small, our business plan can be flexible. Our marketing plan can be pivoted halfway because you can adopt an experimental mode. That means if you see something that's not working, cut your losses, move. Every time you do something in your business, you can treat it as an experiment or what we call A/B testing. would it be better if I do it like this? Or would it be better if I do it like this? Would it be better if I launch a bigger pack or a smaller pack or a single pack? Or would it be better if I launch to the young or to the old or to the youth? So there are several permutations that we can experiment, and having this experimental mindset when you are running your business is the way to go in the future, because there's nothing certain. We are facing an uncertainty of the world. And when we do that, the only way we can anchor ourselves is to be comfortable with the uncertainty, to be willing to change and pivot midway. Yeah. And my advice is we shouldn't ever be loyal to our own idea. We should be the one to challenge whether our ideas are bulletproof, waterproof, acid proof. Yeah. So those are my 3F rules. And what's the time now?
13
So
now,
just
Rom.
just a good time. It's 30 minutes. This is my last slide. How to pivot your company. Now that you know whether you should or you shouldn't, the next question is how. And the how will come in a one-day workshop. All right. I will be going through with you step-by-step guide. First and foremost, need to pinpoint where are we going. And this is taking an example of a Waze or Google Map. You want to go to somewhere that's unknown, you need to start from somewhere that you know. You need the coordinate of the current location. To go there, you need to know where you are. If you don't know where you are, you cannot go to where you don't know. So you need to pinpoint and you need to focus. You need to know where you're going. And then you need to look at your inventory. What are the things you don't have? What can you work on? What can you borrow? What can you steal with pride? Because there's no such thing as proprietary ownership anymore. The world is an open source. Then we need to visualize. This is very much planning. And then we need to operate. And then we need to monitor and track. Yeah, all these will be offered in a one-day workshop. Dr. Maria will tell you more when this is. And if you sign up, you will also get with this one-day workshop tools and techniques, templates, and also guided approach for myself. Yeah.
Okay, thank you
Thank you
very
very
much.
much.
Thank you very much, Rom. Thank you. Now, before that, I would like to know, anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask questions. Could you stop sharing screen, Rom? Yes, okay, everyone. Please feel free to ask some questions if you have. Anyone, feel free and unmute yourself, please, when you need to talk. Maybe if just to start off, I have one question, Rom, just to check. See, normally when you want to do this pivot, another thing, one of the workshops I'm throwing is actually create a strategic plan. Once they do a strategic plan, there is a lot of data finding and all that. Pivoting could also go parallelly to that. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
You will need all the information in order to make your decision, right? Yeah, okay. Anyone else? Do you have any questions on to pivot or not to pivot?
Can I just add on to your point, Dr. Maria?
Yes.
The best plan is when you plan not just for success, but you also plan for failure.
Backup plans. Yes. Yes. Anyone would like to ask a question?
I have a question, Doctor.
Yes, Donna.
Hi, Madam Humayun. I just want to check this pivoting. Is it applicable only for new plans or product innovation or marketing strategy or even for operation also?
Okay,
For
let me
business
repeat your question.
operation.
Your line wasn't very clear. Could you repeat your question?
Madam Humayun, my question is that, is it this pivoting is applicable only for marketing strategy or for any product innovation like you have told about the Tongkat Ali story, or even to improve the business operation?
Yeah, of course. Pivoting. The outcome of your pivot is your product or your services. But what you pivot can be people, can be culture, can be processes, can be resources, can be your ingredient. You might decide to change because one time I had a client who was getting pandan extract from Spain. And I was thinking, why do we have pandan? Why are we getting pandan extract from Spain? And then they say that because in Malaysia, yes, we have plenty of pandan at the back of our house, but we do not have the technology to extract
Right.
the essence of pandan. So when that in turn makes the product became very expensive and very inaccessible. So pivoting also can mean that you look at all the business component and what is it that you want to change. But you start from the end and then you work backwards. Yeah, you look at whether you want to pivot the product or services or you want to pivot the consumers, and then you look internally what you have, what you don't have, to respond to that decision whether you want to pivot your product services or your consumers.
Okay, so what I understand, pivoting is something like ongoing. We can able to set like a long-term pivoting and also short-term pivoting plan.
Right.
Okay, thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you, Bhuvna. And there was actually a question which Mr. Sampson posted, and he was saying like test marketing. So we could say that it's also test marketing is definitely involved in this, isn't it? Yep.
Yes.
Hmm?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Anybody else has any questions? Any other questions? Okay, if there are no other questions, actually we would like to stick to our time. But just before I end, I would like to let you know, first and foremost, let's give a big thank you. I know how you, I know God knows how you're going to thank here, but you can either whatever. Okay, thank you very much, Ron. Really
Thank you.
appreciate it. I'm sure whatever this 30 minutes is just like a window for everybody just to let you know. And we are going to arrange for a one-day training so that we could come in and we could really get more of hands-on and practical. I think Rome, myself, we all are very hands-on people. Come here, get your hands dirty, get things done. Am I correct? Now, before I conclude the session, I would just want to do a little bit of a very quick sharing with you. If you allow me just another 2 minutes, yeah, just to share. Um, sorry, just give me a few minutes. As you know, so far we have lined up. Where is my slide? Oh, 1 minute. Yeah, sorry. Okay, I don't know where I put it. I couldn't locate it. But basically, just to let you know, one of the programs that we have already lined up is creating strategic plans. I think you all can see this, right? Create a strategic plan for the new normal. This one is being scheduled on the 14th, 15th, and 16th of May from 9 to 11 p.m. at night. Yeah. So I would like to encourage all of you to, whoever is in business, especially, to take advantage. Even if you're not in business, it will definitely be very useful for you. Okay. And we will be coming up with a strategic plan for the new normal. Now, I would also like to share with you in next week onwards. Actually, I just mute all of you, yeah? Okay. Next week, we are supposed to continue with this 4 o'clock, but I think most of them are going back to work. So I may have to reschedule the time. I will keep you all posted. I think please do join the Telegram group. It'll be good. At least I can keep you posted and give you more information. The materials will also be posted in there. If you want recordings, we can make it accessible, right? Now, on Monday, we are having a very interesting topic, and that is on finance. Finance meaning on getting more understanding about what happens when we delay or when we defer payment, secrets, CTOS. We're having a person from AKPK to speak about this and share so that we can also go and share with others in return. And also on Wednesday also, we are going to have another topic on communication about generation, millennium, handling millennium, and I will be giving another topic on how to write with a good personality. You know, human being, we have personality. Even writing, we can have personality, right? So we will be putting all those things inside and a few other topics. And we will also have a trainer from Brunei, and I think the trainer is here today, Raimin. Yes, thank you so much for coming today. He will also be giving a topic. We will announce all those information later. All right, so stay tuned, guys. Be with us. Continue. And can I request everybody to switch on your camera? We will just take one snapshot. I hope I get this right this time. Okay, yes. So let's smile for the camera a little bit. And then, Bhuvna, please help me. In case I get it wrong, then you snap for me. Is it possible for you to snap for me as well? Oh, I can't hear you. Oh, you can't, huh? All right, okay. No worries. Can I have everyone up, as many as possible? And then we will do a snapshot. Yes. We have Pakia, Arifin. Okay, all are slowly switching on the camera. Or camera shy people. All right, smile everybody. You are in candid camera. I hope I get this right. I think it's snap already. Is it? Ask me to save the OneDrive. Yes, screenshot done. Thank you very much. Okay, let me do another one. A few more people are opening up. One more minute, another one more. Thank you. Let's smile. Yes, I got it. Thank you so much once again to everybody for joining. And I will see you all on Monday. Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye. See you. See you. Take care. Thanks, Ron.
Thanks,
Thank you. Welcome. Thank you.
Thanks for inviting.
Bye. Thank you. My pleasure.
Thanks, Romanza.
Thank you, doctor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr.
Yeah,
N.
take care.
Thank you.
Take
Bye.
care.
Thank you. Take care. Thanks,
Bye,
Wong.
doctor.
All the best.
You're
Bye.
welcome.
Thank you. See you. Nice connection. Okay,
So,
we'll end the meeting. Yeah, sorry.
so Dr. Maria, you do this often?
I'm doing this during the MCU. I'm doing it like 3 times a week. Wow, that's quite a lot, huh? So I started off this week. So next week, I'm also going to line up 3 topics. And then the follow. But I think I may need to change the timing because, you know, I think we are all going back to work. How is it in Brunei, Raymond?
Oh, we work till about 2 and we knock off from work at about 2-ish. But with this COVID thing, it's a working from home seems to be like even when you go back, we work from home anyway. So
Yes, exactly.
it's still the same.
So yeah, hours are getting longer, working hours actually.
Oh yes, that's not too bad. We're still okay actually. So I think that was the topic that a lot of people actually wanted to actually understand what do you mean by pivoting. So yes,
All
it's,
right.
it's something cool.
Okay, so it's
Thank
really
you for inviting.
my pleasure. Thanks for joining us, Ramin. Really my pleasure. Yeah. Thank you, Chetna, Vimala, Moidu, Arasi. Thank you so much. I'll catch up with you all, okay? I'll end the meeting now. Thank you.
Thank you, doctor.
Thank you. Bye. Any questions? No questions, yeah?